Nope.
Hi, I'm Darla Laterna with Bike Walk League, and I'm here with Steve Clark from the League of American Bicyclists, and he's been in town this week, and it's really a privilege to have him here to look at how bike-friendly we are and how we can improve. And I want Steve to kind of talk about what your purpose for coming and kind of just in general give us some background.
Well, you know, a lot of people come to southern Florida, especially where I live, in Minnesota, and for vacation. And of course, a lot of people end up, after they come here for vacation, they end up moving down here. I think the weather has something to do with it. And they want a bicycle, right? And so we know that this is a place that attracts a lot of visitors, and it's become a priority location for helping improve conditions for bicycling and walking. Every year since last year, we visit 100 cities, mostly me. I visit 77 last year, to help them become more bike friendly. And this is a program of the League of American Bicyclists.
So this is part of the designation Bicycle Friendly Community. As you know, we have one.
Yes, Sanibel is a silver. So yes, I visit places that are already designated as bicycle friendly, and also places that are working towards becoming bicycle friendly, or at least interested in learning more about that. And it's free of charge. I'm here on behalf of my organization, the League, which is a national organization of bicyclists. It's basically funded through members, but then my actual travels are funded through Trek, who has decided this is a really good way to promote the program and also really help communities become more bicycle friendly.
So far you've visited how many of our 3 county locations?
So started in Sanibel on Monday, and I was in Cape Coral today. I've been outside of Lee County too, Naples and Punta Gorda.
So how have you structured these meetings? Who's involved and what have you seen?
So what we do is we get a good mix of people. We want elected officials, we want staff, and we want citizen advocates, people who are promoting or at least trying to make things better for bicycling. To get them all together, we go for a bike ride. We look at what's happening around the city, stop various places to talk about what we're seeing, and then we come back and have a discussion basically of what's really going right. What are some of the issues, and how can we make improvements? And it's a very collaborative process. I also show slides from all over the country, because one of the neat things about my job is that I get to, I don't really have to say much about, here's what I think you should do. I just show really wonderful things happening all over the country, and every time I go someplace, I get one more thing or 2 more things that I can then show others, like, wow, and this is what they're doing here, and that creates some excitement, and a lot of the things that I'm able to show people adopt in other places. So it's about, again, learning from others, and also, I've been doing this work now all my adult life. I started out as a bicycle coordinator in Boulder, Colorado, and most recently I was the manager of the non-motorized transportation pilot program in Minneapolis, where we had $25 million to actually improve conditions for bicyclists. And so I've had the good fortune of being able to know what the best practices are. I mean, it's an evolving field like so many things, and things do change, but it's really fun just to be able to keep the momentum going, and just seeing all the neat things happen.
What are the main ingredients for success that you found across the country? That's the first thing you tell me.
Well, first and foremost, it's the people involved, right? And it seems like when you get the right people who have in the right positions, it makes all the difference in the world. So there's something that we like to call the 3-legged stool, because it's definitely the case that if one of those legs of the stool is missing, things don't really move forward. So the first leg is to have people like yourself, Darla, Dan Moser, the advocates that are involved with Bike Walk Lee, for instance, the advocates that I've met in Naples, the Pathways Coalition folks, state advocacy groups. But anyway, key people who are passionate about bicycling. And sometimes they're not even bicyclists, but they know that bicycling is the way to achieve other goals, a higher quality of life for their community, attract new people into the town, increase economic vitality, improve the air quality, on and on and on. I mean, the bicycle is this amazing thing that it solves so many problems out there if we just were to embrace it fully, right? So getting those people involved is key, and fortunately, almost every place has good people that have been trying to encourage more bicycling. And then the second leg are the staff people, and in our bicycle-friendly community application, we ask, do you have a bicycle coordinator, or do you have staff that are in charge of really working on behalf of pedestrians and bicyclists, trying to improve conditions. Typically, the bicycle coordinators or the staff that are involved with this are in public works departments, and they should be working closely with traffic engineers. Sometimes they are traffic engineers, but they think beyond just one mode. They're really thinking about the other modes too. And then the third leg, so dedicated staff, enthusiastic citizens, and then finally policymakers. We get them in the room as well. All too often the policymakers don't realize that so many of the engineering decisions that are made are really not engineering decisions, they're political decisions. So it's really key that we empower the policymakers so they know that no, this is really about policy. This is about who are you prioritizing when various road users come to an intersection. Are you prioritizing throughput, which, let's face it, traffic engineers are trained to move as many cars through an area as quickly as possible? Well, that is a political decision to have that as your goal. How many cars can we move through here as quickly as possible? If your policy is that, well, we want to make this as friendly for bicycling and walking as possible, then you would take a different approach. So again, policymakers are key, citizens are key, staff.
So when you went to, I participated in Sanibel, Dan participated in Cape Coral, and Anne's going to participate in Video Spring. So we went on a ride and then you did a debrief. Could you just kind of summarize some of the highlights of what you found, what the issues were, and what kind of some immediate things that people could do to improve the situation?
Yeah. So there's so much good that's happening, and it was really fun to be in Sanibel and riding the paths. At least for the short. Initially, it was really fun, and all of a sudden, I realized there are these stop conditions at every single intersection, and that became a little frustrating for me. But in every place that I've been to, there's just been some great infrastructure, great people, great weather. I mean, come on, how can you beat this? And also in every place I've been, there have been some major impediments to increasing bicycling, just because you get to certain places and you don't have great facilities, and it becomes challenging to get to where you want to go. I mean, for me, I use a bicycle for everything. I want to be able to meet my needs on a bicycle. I want to get from point A to point B as efficiently as possible. So like today I rode to Cape Coral, and I went over the causeways, and I went over the Cape Coral Bridge, and made left turns and had some issues with some motorists that maybe, even though I was riding my bicycle exactly the way I would drive a car and moving very as efficiently and quickly as possible, I still had some issues. And I was wearing a yellow, bright fluorescent vest. I forget
Going back to Sanibel.
Yeah,
You
Sanibel.
said, you mentioned the stop markings. Did you give the city any suggestions, or kind of how did you talk about that?
Yeah, that actually became a big focus of my work in Sanibel when I was there, because we just gave Sanibel a silver, in which, so for people in your, I'm not sure who's going to see this, but basically, bronze is where communities start when they become a bicycle-friendly community, and most communities that apply actually don't get any designation at all. More than half are not bronze or silver or gold. But it starts at bronze, and then next level is silver, and then gold, and then platinum. There are 4 communities in the country that are platinum. Anyway, we just provided, we just recognized the city of Sanibel with a silver bicycle-friendly designation. And so when I got to Sanibel, and I had heard there were maybe some issues with the off-street facilities. It's quite nice. You see a lot of people bicycling, and clearly it's a place that people go because they feel like they can ride a bike and pretty much anywhere. It's a fun place to be. But what the staff did, I don't know when, but when I was riding on the off-street trails, again, like I said, every single intersection, I mean, maybe not every driveway, but every intersection that you come to, there is a stop marking in the pavement. And what happens, and this is on, you're going along you're on a major corridor, right, but it's a side path. The folks that are on that road don't have to stop. And so the side streets that intersect those roads have stop signs for the motorists and other road users, bicyclists, that are using those streets. And when you have a stop at every single one of those places, you quickly learn that if you're trying to get, like for me, I was trying to get to the farmer's market, there was no way that I could get there in a timely way if I had to actually stop. And nobody stopped. Nobody. So and it was almost, and I actually told the city manager, it was, from my point of view, working for the league, having given the city of Sanibel silver, it was embarrassing to see this, because people are coming to Sanibel, they want to see, what does a silver community look like? This is a bicycle-friendly community. It's not friendly if the bicyclists on these trails have to stop every block, and sometimes even more frequently than that, to get somewhere. And the other thing is, I am a very law-abiding cyclist. I want cyclists to obey stop signs and red lights and be a model and be an ambassador that way. But no one else in Sanibel has stopped. I mean, I should say no one, because somebody said they do. I have yet to witness it. Because it's not enforceable, it's not practical, it just doesn't work. So what happens is I start out stopping, and pretty soon I'm like, this is crazy, and I'm going to be rear-ended by other bicyclists. In fact, there were some close calls already, because it's like, what is this guy doing stopping, right? And there was no need to stop, because I could see that the cars had stopped. They're waving me on. They don't want me to stop either. It's slowing them down. So anyway.
Do you have a recommendations? Did you?
So I get to like place where there should be a stop sign, and by that time everybody is sort of like, so tired of all these stop pavement markings that they ignore even the places where they really need to stop. So anyway, my recommendation then was, as soon as possible, they really need to get rid of the stop, the markings on the pavement at every single location. And there may be a few. I mean, certainly the ones like Tarpon Bay, for instance, I would keep that there. I mean, some of the ones that, well, again, I mean, the easiest way to proceed would be to eliminate the ones that exist right now where people approaching the roadway, they have a stop sign themselves. They know they're supposed to stop. They stop. They're already giving the cyclists the right of way and the pedestrians the right of way. So eliminate all of those markings because it's just causing confusion. Where the motorists on the adjacent roadway have to stop, you know, like the Tarpon Bay, that would be a good place to actually keep the stop and really put up a sign, because signs are much more effective than the markings anyway. I mean, they're enforceable. I mean, you could argue that a stop bar is enforceable, but people don't know that. I mean, the stop sign would be much more effective. And just limit the number of intersections where you have that situation, because then people will actually pay attention to those places.
Is there a discussion about on-the-road cycling in San Diego? Another issue out there.
So yes, on-the-road bicycling. So it's always an issue because you know, there are people who believe that if you've provided an alternative to the road, in this case shared paths, that bicyclists have no business being on the road. And that's troubling because, again, these paths are not bike paths. These are shared multi-use paths. And today I was leaving from the place that we're staying at, and there was a woman with 2 dogs on each side of her, blocking the entire pathway, and just ahead of her, there were an elderly couple. And this is wonderful. I'm not like, oh, you should get off this pathway. I mean, this is great, right? But again, it's like the pathway, serves a great purpose to get people, you know, out there bicycling. But people who are trying to get somewhere quickly, like myself, because I'm using my bike, and in this case, I'm going 17 miles to Cape Coral. I'm like a motorist, right? You think about it, if my normal speed is 20 miles per hour, and now I'm going at 5 miles per hour, that's like a motorist who is used to, you know, on a roadway that's going 50 miles per hour, now they're going 10 miles per hour, 15 miles. I mean, it's like for them to go 10 miles per hour, it's, you know, 5 times difference or something, 4 times difference. All right, anyway, forget my math. But the fact is, you want the higher speed cyclists to be on the roadway because it's safer for them and it's safer for the people trying to use the path. That being said, in order to make that happen in a way that people accept it, there's got to be, the city has to, it really shouldn't be, it can't be the bike club folks doing this. It's got to be other civic groups, or ideally the city saying, oh no, our streets are for everyone, higher speed vehicles, you know, going 20 miles or faster, or 15 miles or whatever, can use the roadway. Not that you have a cutoff, but you know, I mean, if you're, and the paths are for slower movement, so
and the reality
walking
is 95% of the people are on the pathway.
Yes.
There's not that many
No.
people, and the ones who are on the road are the ones that belong on the road because they're going fast.
Right.
And it's dangerous.
Right. I mean, you're not going to find, you know, the person who wants to go under 10 miles per hour on the road. They're not going to want to be on the road. It's only people like me that feel like they could be late for a meeting that's going to want to, like, maybe I should get on the road and go a little bit faster.
So switching gears
Yes.
to Cape Coral, so you amazingly biked over there, what, 5:30 or 6 this morning to get to your 8 o'clock?
I wish I would have left tonight. I left about 10 after 7.
That's a good time. So tell us a little bit about your ride in Cape Coral and then the debrief meeting and what the recommendations were out of that.
So the ride was, again, Sanibel, wonderful, and I mean, I say good morning to the people that I encountered on the path. And then the causeway, you know, there's some things that you could do to make even just like a wider white stripe separating the travel lanes from the bike lane, shoulder, makes a big difference. So the wider the stripe, very light, fluorescent, you know, visible, that can make a big difference. I would still say you could narrow those lanes and give the bicyclists even more space. Some places would recommend maybe plastic bollards scattered throughout. I know that with a bridge you also need a place for motors to pull off if there's problems, so you can't have, you know, a Jersey barrier or anything like that. But that was really pretty pleasant. I didn't have any issues with going on the bridge, on the causeway there. I'm on some of the more major streets, so McGregor, and that got to be a little bit of more of a challenge, just because it was clear that the motorists aren't really looking for bicyclists, and I did have somebody who almost ran into me. But when I was making a left-hand turn, the bridge, the Cape Coral Bridge, is you know, again, that to me, it's such an easy thing to fix, but right now it's so hostile to bicycling, because you've got 3, 13, maybe even 14-foot lanes. No, not 14. There's like probably 3 13-foot lanes out there, and you know, people are going 50 miles an hour, 55 miles per hour, which tells you that and this is during rush hour, so there is no congestion. Or maybe on the other, maybe coming, yeah, the other side, they were going slow. But the reality is nobody had any problem changing lanes to get around me, because the other lanes are totally free of vehicles. But most people aren't going to want to try to get to Cape Coral from Fort Myers or from where I was coming from, because it just is, it's not comfortable for most people. And it was fine for me, but I wouldn't want to do it on a daily basis.
Right.
You know.
So did you get a chance to check out the new 90-mile?
Yes, I did that with some people last night or yesterday afternoon, and yeah, great wayfinding, and neat to see the signs, and the private-public partnership was amazing. Again, it's like a lot of places that I go to, I see that, you know, the designers are like thinking minimums for the bicyclists, for the bike lanes, and kind of like whatever's left over after we employ that minimum standard, we give it to the motorists. That wasn't the case in Cape Coral, but clearly the bike lane could have been much wider than it was, because I measured the travel lane, and all from the bike lane striping to the curb was 14 feet. And this was just, they have a number of places in Cape Coral, almost every place where there's a bike lane, that used to be a second travel lane. And what they did is say, oh, we don't really need all these streets to be 4 lanes, right? So it'd be like 2 lanes in one direction, and a nice little median, landscape median, then 2 lanes in the other direction. What they did is which is brilliant, is they road dyed it to 1 lane in each direction, and a little buffer zone, and then a 6-foot bike lane. But it really could be, but there's no sidewalks in a lot of these places.
Sure.
So it could really, what I recommended today when we had the discussion, is when it's going to be resurfaced, those streets that were road dyed, to go back and, you know, at most have an 11-foot travel lane, and then there could be room not only for a little buffer zone between the traffic or the motor vehicles and the bicycle lane, but also you could do a 4-foot stretch for a walking, and it would again make that feel so different. Because what happens when you have when you have lanes that are wider than 11 feet, and I like 10-foot lanes personally, but when you have them wider than 11, 12, 13, 14-foot lanes, it just encourages people to go way faster. And we clearly, we were passed by people going pretty darn fast.
So what other recommendations did you have for people?
Well, the other thing is just they have some major roadways that to me it looks like they could easily narrow the lanes and do some road dieting and put in bike lanes wherever they can. When you get over that bridge, well, and during the time that you're on the bridge, it just, and what you first see when you come into Cape Coral isn't, wow, this is a great bicycle city. No, you see lots and lots of pavement and no real space for the bicyclist or the pedestrian, really. I mean, there's some sidewalk, but so people, their first impressions are important. When they come into a place, you want to immediately get them thinking, okay, this is really a place for people. This is a different kind of place. And not that, any place is going to be like opposed to someone driving there, but it's like you want the driver to feel like they are a guest in this place full of people, and they need to drive prudently and carefully, and also you want people to think, wow, maybe this is a place where I could actually walk and ride a bike and get out and see things, and that's what people want. So, and of course, Cape Coral, they get it. They know that that's what people want, and that's why they've done this extensive network of bike facilities and trying to route, just basically put out the maps and give people this great recreational opportunity. And I say recreational because it was pointed out by somebody there that, in fact, really their focus has been on recreation, which we're totally in favor of using bikes for recreation. Most people, that's why they use bikes, but we also want, one of our goals is to in terms of a bicycle-friendly community, it's a community where you can use the bicycle to meet your needs. And one of our big concerns is equity and social justice. And for a lot of people, they don't have access to
I
a car.
was really pleased to hear when you did the San Marcos presentation. You always talk about the 5 E's, but now the lady's talking about 6 E's.
Yeah, and there's a question if we're going to make it a separate, actually have specific questions at the end that just talk about equity, because that's a 6E, or if we're just going to make sure that in all the other E's, equity is incorporated. So it may still be 5 E's, but equity is going to be infused within each of those 5
And by
E's.
equity, you mean?
Making sure that your investments are really being equitably distributed throughout the city, that it's not just certain places that get the nice bike paths, but the people who are maybe most dependent on a bicycle, they're not the ones stuck with the 4-lane roadways with 50-mile-per-hour speeding going by their homes. So it's very important.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time, and you're going tomorrow to Bonita, and then I guess in a couple of weeks you're coming back for Fort Myers, and we'll be interviewing you again.
About Bonita, yes, in
Bonita,
Fort Myers.
and Fort Myers.
Very good. Well, it's been a pleasure, Darla.
Really happy you came to visit.
Thank you.
I wish the sun had been out more this week, but it's been great now.
I love the weather here. I can't complain.